Welcome to Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show will have a talk about a Linux project, such as a Linux distribution, desktop environment, application. We also chat about the news or any variety of topics from the community. Anything that is Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate. How's everybody?
Excellent.
Been good.
Fantastic. I got a lighter group of people today, but that's understandable. If anyone from the YouTube stream would like to hop in, feel free. If you're if you're up for it. I know Anna. I'd love to talk to Anna Rita at some point in time. I think that'd be loads of fun. I think
so too.
I think that she'd probably like take over the whole show, and I'd be fine with that. I just sit back and listen, whatever she had to say about whatever. So hey, be sure to do the Strawpoll if you haven't done so already. It's Strawpoll about, well, apparently, credit to me, it's what are the distributions that have come and gone that you miss to this day. And I know I voted. Brought a little digital tear to my eye. Is that such a thing? I don't know. That was dumb. Anyway, on the docket for today, we got a news flight night. We'll do then we'll do our last call, but first, and the straw poll, discuss that straw poll, but first, when we're doing Linux and tech, I wanted to bring up my current CAD-ventures, kind of to dovetail in. I think you were talking about your CAD-ventures last week, or your printing ventures anyway last week, right, Jinda?
Yeah, it was mostly about my 3D printer adventures due to the fact that I think it's kind of very interesting how many settings there are and how difficult they are to use. And when they go wrong, you never know why. and stuff like that. It was mostly trying to be entertaining, but I don't think it was.
No, it's good. So I was explaining to you that I have my oldest is in a robotics class, and so he's taken more to the programming side of things, and I'm helping out with the CAD side of things. And so that's been kind of fun for me to teach some CAD stuff to one of the kids. And I want to tell you though, I was playing with OrcaSlicer a little bit more because I had some stuff I want to print off. And they have there's a device tab on the top. Not sure if you've seen that, if you played with that, if anybody in the stream has played with that or listening. But you can link up, like with me, I have OctoPrint managing my printer. So I could link up, there's like a little API thing, can link that up, and then the tab will show basically like the website aspect of it where I can interface with it remotely. And hold on, as I put my phone on silent because somebody didn't do that. Anyway, but also you can print, like after you slice the code, you can print it directly
Goes right to it.
Yeah, so it's like you write a Word document, and you hit print, and you select the Xerox or HP, whatever it is, and off to the races you go. Kind of the same thing. Kind of cool. Wish Sean was here, because I'm sure he would have some comments on that. But anyway, it's been pretty cool. It's been really cool. So I have a second phone here that I gotta shut off. Anyway, so I was playing around with that, and then I've been playing around with OnShape because it works really well. OnCell is another one, the CAD application. I kind of been going between them. And the thing that I really like about, I like to have the resources local as much as possible because, it's a lot of times just, I don't have good internet connection or maybe I'm, in a spot where I don't have any at all. And if I want to like mess around with something like a CAD, if I have an idea or whatever, I can't do that with OnShape. That's such a good piece of CADness, I guess, if you want to call it. And I looked into even like what are the costs of it. So if I were to like do something, commercial-y with it, it's like $1,500 a year. I don't know if you looked at that.
Yes, they're all very, very expensive.
Yeah. So OnSell does have a commercial paid version, but it just doesn't do the parametric design quite like what would work for me. So it's kind
of to explain some of the parametrics to everybody who really doesn't know. If you draw a cube with a hole in it, you can relate the size of the hole to the size of the cube. So if you change one dimension, the entire thing will change with it. And that being able to do that and be able to quickly be able to design something makes the 3D modeling CAD packages light years ahead where 2D was. And
Right.
I think that's a real big item where the deep down lines is we don't really need 3D, but you really do need the parametric feature of it. Correct, Nate? Would you agree?
And then so the thing is, like, with simple parametric constraints, the Onsel, Onsel FreeCAD will do that and will be okay. But sometimes if I change a certain feature, like a more base feature in the list, it can lose references for like rounds and fillets and stuff like that, or fillets and
radiuses.
And
right.
like, and then, or sometimes like I change the size of one thing and all of a sudden like it inverts something in the sketch. It's like all kinds of just really really annoying stuff. So so like when I was designing my 1541 X case, the like the disk drive thing that had like a media card reader and
USB stuff, I remember that.
Which I use it all the time. I still use it today. Use it today quite a bit, and even yesterday. So I was working, when I was working on that, and I made a change to like, because I had to make a design revision so that the fitment was better, basically. I had to basically go through the entire model and redo most of the features. It was so frustrating. And when that happened, like it shifted stuff around. So you almost have to like print off the views just so you can put it back together the way it was. And stuff like that makes it very hard to design against. So I will say OnShape, which is it's in the web browser. It does use local resources, but basically all your files and so forth, the application runs remotely, but like the rendering happens locally. So you do have to have a good card for that. Not a problem. Works pretty great. But I was thinking, I'd used Fusion 360 some time ago, and then it stopped working in Linux, and I was, very disappointing. But these things happen, right? Well, I went to check on it, I was just doing yesterday, in fact, and I put it in the Telegram. But I checked.
That I saw.
Yeah, so I checked to see like, does it work? And has someone fixed it? And apparently there is a project out there that's very active as far as updates and everything else that keeps Fusion 360 working in Linux. So it's a script. It's a script you run in the terminal. You basically go to the directory that you want it to exist, run the script, and then it'll do all the. I think it respects that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't, because it did create a dot file on your home directory, an Autodesk dot file. So anyway, I started playing with Fusion 360 on Linux again, and I have to say, it was really great to be able to use that again, and it works now. I don't know if it's a Wayland thing, but it works pretty well. There are a few little like weirdnesses to it, and I had to make some manual changes to the configuration so I could look at my local files. Like it was kind of like walled off. But once I did that, I could access my local stuff, so I can upload designs and everything else. I'm working on another kind of larger framework-based project, and anyway, it works. I just really appreciate how the assembly works in it. I appreciate a lot of things about it. Also, do you know what that costs annually right now?
Well, I know there's a free version.
There is. Just same with OnShape.
Yeah, but I don't know how much it costs. I think SolidWorks was cheaper at the one time.
It could have been. So
yeah, they change back and forth. I know that.
So
how much is it?
Fusion 360 right now is on sale. It's like $460 for the year.
Oh, okay.
Which compared to the other commercial CAD offerings, it's like half the price of even VeriCAD. But VeriCAD, it's you buy it and you own it, and then it's like 1/3 the cost of OnShape, and so it's pretty compelling. But there's just a couple of things that are just a little bit ropey about it, and I don't know. I guess maybe I can smooth some of those things out with working with Fusion 360. But it just it works really well. It really does.
Yes, it does. And so I run Autodesk Inventor at work. Mm-hmm. I've been running Autodesk Inventor since 1999 era, say.
That's about the time I started using it.
Yeah, and they always wanted, from what I heard, they always technically wanted to run it like Fusion, but they didn't want to get so far away from AutoCAD and Mechanical Desktop, and that's why they made what they made.
Mhm.
And Fusion is a little different concept of how it works, and that was supposed to be their go-to one, and it was supposed to eventually take over, and now I don't think Autodesk Inventor is going anywhere. I think that the Inventor may one day switch having the option to run like Fusion one day, but I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I ran Pro-E, Creo.
Yep.
It was called Wildfire.
Pro-E Creo is hard to use, personally.
So I think it's easier, but that's probably just because I used it for so long.
Right. I'm saying for a newbie coming in.
Yeah, you're probably right.
It's harder. I think harder to use.
Yeah, you're probably right. But to me, it works. It works well with the way I think about how to break apart models and everything else.
Oh,
so
sure.
Anyway, so that said, being able to import models into Fusion 360 is really smooth, very easy to do. Then you can modify them. You can use like push pull, and you can actually do merges and everything else. So you can take a model and kind of build something off of it, which is nice. I'm just sort of testing that right now. But I think I'm going to kind of redo the design anyway for the framework mainboard, because I want to do something slightly different. I haven't, and I've talked about this before, but I have a shell, basically, a Macintosh classic shell that, well, there's things in it now, but they're non-functional. And I want to turn into a modern Linux computer with a framework inside of it. So I just want to work out the structuring particulars and whatnot, and like where to put things. So I want to CAD it up and work it out, and I'm kind of excited about this. But I think I will try using Fusion 360 for a little while again, just to see how well it works. See if it if the juice is worth the squeeze, as it were. Is it worth the extra effort to get it to work? I mean, probably the easiest thing would just be to run it on a Windows VM on my server and just pipe it through, because actually it's designed to do that. That's actually a function. Yep. You can actually make it so it works better on a remote desktop, which I thought was hilarious. But I don't know. I'd like to. It seems like it wouldn't be that much more work for Autodesk to do that. I don't know. Seems like it.
I thought you were going to say you're going to turn into your old Mac into a aquarium. You know how people do that with the old Macs, the close
yes.
ones?
Well, yeah, it would have to be like the clear ones that look more, aquarium-like. That would be pretty cool, though. Although I think today you'd probably get like retro nerds, coming at you with a pitchfork if you did that to a Macintosh. Although you can buy clear cases like this. That would be a pretty cool aquarium, I think. Yeah. But anyway. So, all that said, Jinda, you are absolutely right about the OrcaSlicer. It's actually a lot cooler the more you dig into it. It keeps getting cooler.
I tried I didn't want to hammer it down anybody's throat, but after playing with it for maybe like an hour and realizing I could use my 3D printer instantly, because I didn't buy the most expensive 3D printer in the world because I didn't think I was going to use it as much as it's worth. And they seems like even if you buy a really good one, they don't last as long as I thought they should. Because like you said, your head, this goes bad, that goes bad. I hear from everybody. Yeah. But one of the things is that they didn't really support Linux. They didn't have a Linux support. So what I did was I installed it in a VM, and I took the settings out of it and stuck it in the one that was Linux. That's literally what I did. I just copied them. I just sat there and went, oh, okay, there's the settings. I'll switch them over. And it printed, but it didn't print as good as I wanted to. And then once I switched to Cura, I was like, oh my God, I can finally print my little bracket that I was trying to make. I know this is the silliest thing in the world to be proud of, but you know what I mean?
What material did you use for that?
This is just regular everyday white PLA.
Okay.
Somebody gave it to me saying it didn't work with their 3D printer and try it on mine.
Okay.
Which it runs hot. I had to run a torture test on it to get the temperature right. according to what it says on the box, the temperature's low. So if you run it, the temperature recommends, it doesn't work. I just got lucky.
Yeah, I noticed that sometimes you get PLA that 110 is fine for it. You have to, or some they have to do at least 115, and some you got to crank it all the way to 210, 215,
Yeah.
and like others like 220. Otherwise, it's just
Yeah,
not,
this one's 220.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it doesn't print. This is the torture test that I did with every temperature, and figured out which one it had to be at where it actually worked.
Yeah. Yep, and that probably beats up the 3D printer a little bit, but who cares? Well, I wanted to.
So
go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish that.
Oh no, I finally got to start using it and started making the toys that I wanted to make, and I'm hopefully going to be printing a bunch of dumb things again.
So you say they're dumb, but actually they're pretty cool. Especially when you can design and print something that just makes like it solves a problem. That to me is I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah, to me it was what the part was that I was amazed by is that I did a test print. I wanted to make a receiver and a radio controlled a box to hold my radio control receiver for my RC car. And so I printed off just part of it to see if it would snap together. You know what I mean? To make sure it fit. And I couldn't believe it did. You know what I mean? I'm doing a happy dance with the silliest things, you know, 2 parts snap together. And I'm like, I did it.
Yeah. I think like when you have like a print that just goes well, that to me is that's a pretty great thing.
Yeah, it is. Definitely.
Well, I want to say, go ahead.
Did you try any of the 3D modeling packages they have for add-ons in Blender?
No. Are they pretty good?
I was playing with the one and it was actually not too bad, but I wanted to play with another one to compare it. There's I think 2 or 3 on the market right now that you can get.
Really?
It looked interesting, and I wanted to know your opinion. But since you didn't do it yet, I'm going to have to keep plugging at it, trying to get them to work.
Okay, so I think I guess then my assignment then is I need to look at Blender. So Blender.
Yeah,
Blender,
evidently, yeah.
So they have like a mechanical.
Yes, they added a mechanical, like with constraints, pretty much it looks like, and everything in them. I was watching a couple of videos on them. I downloaded Blender and started playing with it. But once again, I'm very confused with Blender. I don't know if you are.
I haven't really used it, so I think I've tried using it, and then like I didn't have like the headspace and timing for my brain to be able to like capture like work on something else.
That's for me a polite way of saying I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I don't get it.
Yeah,
it's a different mindset.
Yeah, I just have to probably just watch something on that. I'm sure Adam is a pro at it.
Wait, what am I doing?
I don't know. I just want to say your name, or I should have said Vince. Vince is probably pro at it too.
I'm a pro at whatever that was.
Whatever it is.
That's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned with all this talk of CAD and 3D printing. Like, what's going to happen with all the wood whittlers? They're going to be out of a job.
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Now there's a cycle. See, when dudes hit like 40, they become woodworkers, and so as long as you have dudes hitting 40 and getting into woodworking, you'll never run out.
I don't know, man. 3D printing seems like the new woodworking.
In a way, it kind of is, but only kind of. So it's good for like little things, but when it comes to, I guess like little wooden. No, there's still something very cool about little wooden trinkets. When you go to like
who's gonna build a deck out of a 3D printer?
Exactly.
So, like, you got to build the deck.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you don't have a multi-story home. Just build a deck.
Yeah, I got a deck off. It's a very small deck. You know, I don't have a complex about it. At the back of my house, it looks nice, but I only stained it. I haven't actually I didn't build it.
Look, man, even small decks are good for partying.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do a lot of stuff with wood, but mostly structural. Got lots of tools. Yeah. Mostly cordless. It's fun. So Don Leckland says in chat, says, jokes aside, folks will pay 10 times as much for handmade ceramic versus something from a store. Woodworking is similar. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, he's probably right. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. So, anyway. Yeah, I think also something, I mean, hand crocheted things too. There's something to be said for that as well.
Yeah, knit one, purl two. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you do your crochet.
There was I don't do any crocheting.
Neither do I.
I tried. It's just I couldn't wrap my head around it. I think it wasn't meant for me. There was at the county fair there was a lady who was taking the wool. I don't know if she got the wool from people at the fair, but she had wool and it was washed already, and she was spinning it into yarn and then making things out of the yarn and demonstrating how you turn it into felt and all this other stuff. That's pretty cool. It's like I could make myself a felt hat, with a little ribbon.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe not. It'd be a lot of wool. I didn't say I understood how it worked, but it was interesting to watch nonetheless. Yeah, although it's a very old material, it's actually still pretty amazing, really, that wool stuff. Yep, and Joe Panico says, there's still something to be said about being a craftsman. This is a true craftsman at that. Yep, there is. People who are people who can just build something out of nothing. Like they can actually see it, everything in their head. They don't have to write anything down. They can just do a thing. That's amazing. I don't have that.
Do people build things out of 3D printers, like furniture? I've never seen that. Have people actually tried doing that?
I don't think so, but I mean, you can build components for it. So I needed, and that's not furniture, but the cabinets. You have those adjustable shelves with the pegs in it. I did replace, I had a peg break and I had my shelf did this number, and so I just took another peg out. I took some measurements and I modeled it up and 3D printed it, and then because I couldn't find them on Amazon, but I just wasn't working. I just wasn't using the right keywords ultimately. But nonetheless, made out of orange ABS, so it blends right in.
Is it about the same strength, or is it stronger?
Well, it hasn't broken yet, so.
Well, that should be good, probably.
Yeah, it's probably fine. It's probably fine. I did add some, a gusset on the underside of it, so it would have a little more strength.
Well, it depends what the material was made originally.
Yeah, I think it was. I kind of feel like it was some sort of a polycarbonate because it was clear. So.
It was probably pretty brittle then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you made it out, it probably is stronger.
Yeah.
Or more flexible it's more forgiving.
Right. ABS anyway. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, though, because I did print it. Well, how did I print that? With the way I printed it, I think the shearing. No, I think I went against the, so it's not, it wouldn't shear
right.
and break between all the layers. I think. I have to check.
You hope.
It hasn't broken yet. So I am curious to know what Sean is using currently for CAD software. It's probably still OnShape, I'm guessing.
Currently using either FreeCAD or OnShape.
Okay.
And I know that FreeCAD is approaching a 1.0 release.
Ooh.
So yeah, they have the second release candidate out for it right now.
Well, I hope that it'd just be really nice if the parametric functions of it just worked like the commercial stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't had much luck with the latest release candidate, but the previous one was working fine. So might be something on my machine, might not, might be something good. I don't know.
So kind of funny. Anna Rita says, "I will buy a 3D printer when it prints money for me. LOL." Well, it kind of does print money for you. You just have to. There's just there's some steps in between. You know, you got to make a thing somebody wants, and then that's how you get your money.
Yep. Yeah, you can just draw the 3D models and put those online and sell them. I was shocked by people what they'll buy.
Yeah,
In other words,
Honestly, it's a great tool for making things around the house.
Yeah, it really
It
is.
really is.
Yeah, you can solve a lot of issues that you had, or fix or cause a problem, so to speak.
It's true. I was reorganizing the drawers in my kitchen, and so I got some organizer things that you can adjust to whatever size you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I still had gaps, so I took some measurements and I 3D printed like some compartments that the way I wedged them in there, it prevented the adjustable drawer slide from adjusting shut or changing position, because it was just snug enough. It was an interference fit, as it were, Jinda.
Yep. Perfect.
And so actually it works great. So that's actually where I put like my chip clips and bread ties and things. It's like this, just a perfect spot for it, because it's right above the the bread drawer. And so anyway, but yeah, it's just really fun just to solve problems with a 3D printer. So SketchUp is a 3D application, much like FreeCAD. I don't know, I couldn't get it to work properly in Linux anymore. I think there's like a certain version that still will, but then you can't get the extensions for it because no one's building extensions for it. I don't know. Could be, Joe. Oh, he said SketchUp 2018 via Wine on MX23 KDE. Runs very well. Huh. Well, whatever it takes. I haven't used that as a parametric modeler. Don't know if it does. I don't know enough about it. There's just too much to learn out there. Too much to learn. Well, okay. I just want to thank you, Swift, Sean, Adam, and Vince for joining. Well, at least Swift, Sean, and Vince. So I appreciate
You are
that.
welcome, sir.
It's nice to have extra faces and people to carry the conversation when when I get stuck in a paper bag, So speaking of paper bag, Eris did a straw poll, and he said it was credit to me, to Cubicle Nate.
Credit to Cubicle Nate.
That's something I was thinking
You know
about.
who that is?
Yes, I do. It's kind of a chucklehead, but anyway, I guess go and take that away.
So the question was, what is a distribution that has come and gone and you miss to this day? And I left this open, so all these answers are from whoever wrote them in. I wasn't sure what to put in, actually. So the number one answer based on votes with 27% is Mandrake.
Woohoo!
Followed by, with 23%, Peppermint 10, but actually missed the dev more.
Ah, I can see that for sure.
And 14% Crunchbang, 9% older version of Ubuntu, 9% Ubuntu with GNOME 2, 5% Yellow Dog Linux, 5% Anonymous.
I haven't heard that one.
It's I think it's used to be a BSD based OS, if I saw that correctly.
Okay.
And followed by Text Penguin, 4%. Mint KDE edition, 4%, and Antergos, 4%.
I just miss people saying Antergos. That's the only reason I missed that one.
Antergos.
'Cause basically, it's Endeavor is the successor,
Yeah.
but yeah, the I think Tux Penguin got a vote there. I see that's funny. What I think would also have been funny if someone put GNU/Linux, if they missed that.
So Anonymous or Anonym and OS was a live CD operating system based on OpenBSD 3.8 with strong encryption and anonymization tools. The goal of the project was to provide secure, anonymous web browsing access to everyday users. So I'm guessing kind of like Tails.
Okay. That makes sense. Oh, I'm curious to know, Sean, are there any old Linux distributions that don't exist anymore that you kind of miss? There was one at Fedora, I remember. Corora?
Not really. My daily driver for a long time was Ubuntu.
Okay.
And Ubuntu is Ubuntu, right? It's what it is. And with the flavors and all that, I mean, it's not like people really feel like they're missing out on too much, I think, going with an Ubuntu distribution. So yeah, I mean, there have definitely been some cool distros to check out, but I never stuck with any of them very long until I went to NixOS.
So there's a Wikipedia page, I should say there's a category of discontinued Linux distributions, in case that interests you. And I thought I actually didn't really remember any of these, or some of these. But it was Corel Linux, that's what I was thinking of. It was no, it's Debian based. So I guess I'm wrong. Is it Caldera? Yeah, it's a German one. Gobuntu. Anybody remember that one?
The GNOME Ubuntu? Or is that different?
Short-lived official derivative of the Ubuntu operating system that was conceived to provide a distribution consisting entirely of free software. Oh, one of those. Or there was Goss, I don't know, Good OS, Ubuntu-based Linux distribution. A Los Angeles-based corporation. CEO David Liu described that after meeting enlightenment and open source people, he realized that his dream was to bring Web 2.0 applications to mainstream. It's Mandriva. MK Linux, that's familiar. Nice for PowerPC platforms. Yeah, it's Red Hat Linux is on here.
Did Mandrake have a spin-off? Well,
so Mandrake and Connectiva merged in 2005 timeframe. It became Mandriva. Mandrake was also being sued by somebody for the name Mandrake because there was some character that had some sort of a copyright on. So I don't know what came from that.
So looking at the Wikipedia tree with all the distributions at once, the SVG file, it shows that Mandrake, PC Linux OS comes from Mandrake.
Yep.
And so does Mageia and Mandriva.
Yep. Yeah, Mandrake was the first. And Mandrake came from Red Hat, essentially.
That's what it says. I did forget to say the replies. Let me read those before I forget.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Somebody said, if the big five, in my opinion, don't disappear, life's all good. Debian, Arch, Gentoo, Slackware, and whichever is the business one. I don't know what they meant exactly by that. I'm guessing Red Hat? I don't know. Maybe Ubuntu? I don't know.
SUSE?
SUSE. And then somebody else said, Solus. Allow me to explain. There was a time when Solus was spoken all over the Linux sphere. Then there was a period of time when it seemed that the ship had been completely wrecked. Thankfully, while it sustained a lot of damage to its hull, its original captain has returned and it has become better than ever. At the same time, now we hardly ever hear about it. My serious answer would be Crunchbang, also known as the sign, hashtag, and exclamation point.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be able to tell the story later, but I'm also likely going to post a recording about it on Hacker Public Radio.
Oh, cool. I hope that there's a link later on that will be provided.
And that was the last reply.
Yeah, I think also on here is kind of weird is Red Hat Linux is discontinued. But I guess sort of it was succeeded by Red Hat Enterprise Linux and Fedora. So, okay, I guess. Now you could say
Fedora Core, remember?
What's that?
Fedora Core, and then Fedora Core becomes Fedora.
Right, yeah. Right. I don't know. It's one of those things. So anybody here have missed an old distribution? Like for me, it was Mandrake. I don't know that I miss it necessarily, but I kind of like, those were fun days, banging your head against the wall for getting certain things like Flash animations to work so you could watch YouTube on the internet in mid 2000 aughts, whatever.
I have to say that was one of the very first Linux distros. Red Hat and Mandrake is one of the two first ones I ran.
Yeah.
After I ran those two and pounded my head against the wall for a little while, I ran Corel Linux.
Which one?
Corel.
Okay.
Like WordPerfect Corel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually was pretty good, and I have to say I liked it a lot. I think they got shut down though. I think that I think it was something to do with the fact that they wanted to put WordPerfect on it, and too many companies probably would have bought it. But I don't know for sure what happened to Corel, but it actually worked. It was very nice. I don't think anyone's ran it by me.
So the SVG says that Corel comes from Debian, or came from Debian, and then it became Sandros.
Okay. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. Yeah, I didn't know about that one. But it looks like it was sort of put together to compete against Windows 98 and Windows 2000.
Yeah.
Plus Mac OS 9.
So in Wikipedia it says that Sandros was purchased the Corel Linux source code and development team when Corel scrapped its Linux business in August 2001. So I'll put the link of the Corel Linux Wikipedia.
Fun fact: I had Xandros on my original EEPC 701, tiny little one when it first came out, because that's what it came with.
Really? Was that your first exposure to Linux?
I think it was a customized version of Xandros. No, it wasn't actually. My very first Linux I installed was Caldera Open Linux because I had found a boxed set with it in a bargain bin at a software store that I went to.
Huh.
So I thought, oh, this looks interesting.
Not a lot of people do that.
I installed it. This would have been like on a Pentium laptop at the time, I think. Or no, it might have been 486 actually. And nothing worked. I couldn't get the modem to work because, Win modems.
Yep.
So I couldn't do anything. Trying to find any sort of information to try and help fix it just was difficult until I stumbled upon NDisWrapper. I probably spent like weeks on that. Still couldn't get it to work because I didn't know what I was doing. But yep, rolled back onto, I think it might have been Windows 2000 at that point. That I put back on the machine. 98 or 2000.
Probably
People say to this day that Windows 2000 is the best version of Windows.
I've heard that.
I do have fond memories.
But I don't understand why they say that. I used it quite a bit around that time frame.
It was light on resources and it was very stable. People claim that. I don't know if that's true, if it's the most stable. It is very light on resources. I mean, it didn't have any GPU required processing.
But it was largely Windows 2000 that inspired me to go to Linux. So I don't know.
I thought it was Windows 98.
No, that was the starting of it. But I mean,
Okay.
yeah, it wasn't. I didn't actually go to Linux until 2002, so I've been using Windows 2000 a little bit. But the computer I had Windows 98 on it that I put Linux on top of. But it was actually pretty much sitting off for quite a while. I hardly used it. I was bored of computers at the time, only using them for video games and the occasional paper. Didn't care outside of that. And then I used Windows 2000 in school and also working for Uncle Sam. And it was, yeah.
What year was this? They're using Windows 2000.
About 2000, 2001, up to 2004. I didn't actually use XP.
Because I know that people sometimes they go to school and they get this really old version of Windows. It's still around because they haven't upgraded to the latest version.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was definitely because when I was doing CAD in school, it was on a Windows 2000 machine. Had a zip drive in it. That was pretty cool. It was neat. So,
Whoa!
what's that? Oh, look at that. Hot dog.
Caldera Systems.
I've got a bit of show and tell.
I like it.
Look at the big box. Ah.
See,
manual.
I miss manuals. Does anybody here miss manuals besides me?
Yeah, I kind of do.
Games need manuals.
PDF's a lot easier to print, I guess. Oh, look at that. How many discs are in there? Oh, okay.
Just the one
I've
floppy.
got.
Look at that. So three CDs and a
Three
disc.
discs.
So a disc is
And a
probably
floppy.
to boot it, I imagine.
Oh, and I also found in here Windows ME startup disk. So I think that's where I went
Oh, okay.
after this.
It's so nicely packaged.
There you go.
It has a very commercial E feel to it.
Big box.
It also it's got the corrugated cardboard insert, right?
It's interesting how those CD-ROMs had the plastic covers,
Uh-huh.
and then CDs just kept coming in, like with nothing. They've just come in there and like they don't have no covers. Like you want a cover, you put yourself a cover.
Or paper sleeve.
Just to save money. Oh, or paper sleeve, yeah. The bare minimum.
Yeah, at first they had jewel cases, then the smaller jewel cases, and then they had those plastic ones that I think like a polypropylene, and then they went to paper. Just kept going downward. That's good times right there. So Zoe Ronan says, I'm a Zoomer. Windows XP was the best. It was like Fisher-Price Windows. That's why I liked it.
Little kid friendly.
And Don Luckland says, Win2K was actually a great version of MS Windows. And I agree. And I think I think that Microsoft agrees because they have not changed any of the dialogues for some of the settings since. Joe
I think
Panika
one of
says,
the problems with Windows 2000, I think, was like compatibility with peripherals because they didn't have all the drivers.
Okay.
Probably
Yeah.
until XP came along. Yeah.
So Don Luckland says Windows 2K and Windows 7 were both surprisingly good. They were really stable and user friendly. Yeah, I think they were fine. I think Windows 7 was great. I liked it better than 10 initially. Probably still do. And then I think it's kind of between the very serious drab look of computers today and the Fisher-Price. I think Windows 7 is somewhere in between. Where they kind of had like a shine to it, you know. So right before the whole was it the Windows Metro theme? What was that? The Windows that came with Windows 8. What was that called? Anybody remember?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was called Metro.
Yeah.
It was horrible. It didn't work. Meaning the look, the design of it. It just was I think a complete fail.
Yeah.
Maybe someone liked it. I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't I know I always think that computers are not as like they appearance-wise, I focus more on looking serious now and less on being fun. Do you notice that? No.
You don't want them going back to the Fisher Price look?
You know, what's old is new. You know, things come around. Your bell bottoms are coming back too. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know these things.
Now everything has to be round. It's all about round.
Is it round now?
Yeah, you got to make everything round. You can't have any edges anywhere. Any sharpness is a liability.
That's a good point. Can't have any sharp corners. Then you have to cut yourself, throw on a Band-Aid. Low-Tech Linux says, I use WinXP for 2 years after EOL. Oh, okay. Then Win 7 for 2 years after EOL, and then went straight to Linux instead of Windows 10. I thought Windows 10 wasn't so bad, though. I think people are all upset about Windows 11. I'm not really sure what the hubbub is about. I prefer it to Windows 10 because they finally have tabs in the file manager. So it's like a feature I've been using for 20 years in Linux. So it's finally available in Windows, which is pretty nice.
You can move the panel, right? I think you can move it now. You couldn't move it before. Windows 11.
I don't know. The panel.
Yeah, you couldn't move the
people
panel.
move the panel in, or maybe it was an extension people do that with.
I think they
7.
changed that later. Before at the beginning, you couldn't move it. I think.
Oh, okay. And then in the chat. So I apologize if I screw up your name, but Malachio, I don't know. Because I think it went from 2000 to Mandrake Linux. Yeah, personal machine was 98 using, kind of similar for me. That's what I was. Oh, and Zeron says, Cosmic seems to be doing a good job of putting some fun back in. So there's excitement, I guess, in the horizon there, for sure. Oh, it's Tiger Warrior says, old versions of Windows like XP 2000 were good, but a pain to install if you had to do it yourself. Drivers, etc., manual process. I only remember like the graphics drivers being painful. Like sometimes like they would work, then you have to reinstall them after some time because of some reason, or some game required some update and you had to reinstall them and so forth. Kind of like the NVIDIA days of my life on Linux. Zebedee Boss says, you cannot move the taskbar in Windows 11. It's a third-party application that allows you to change it. But you can center your icons or shift them, whatever. Does anybody actually like their icons in the center on a Windows taskbar that uses Windows? And hi, Zeb.
Yes.
You do like that?
Yeah, I use them in the center.
I found it really annoying. So I did the old way. Push everything to the sides. Leave my center clear. But you know what? I do like the tiling in Windows 11. Do you do tiling at all in Windows 11, Adam or Vince?
I'm told now.
Yeah, I do. I like the if you hover over the maximize button and on that. Yeah.
I like because you can like snap things over, and then when you snap one, then you can decide how you want things tiled, and then go from there. So if you're like new or not comfortable with like setting up like hotkey stuff, that's pretty cool. And the funny thing is that is the #1 thing I get complaints about at work for people when they transition to Windows 11, they hate that. So it's like, no, this is great. But oh well. So Steve Rayon says center works for me. Well, I guess maybe I'm the cheese that stands alone on that one, but that's okay. I've not been one to follow the crowd, I guess. Well, fantastic. What's that?
I might have just given away that I'm on Windows 11 now.
That's fine. I don't care what you're on.
I'll show myself out.
No.
Oh no, Linux Saloon's gonna come.
Put him in the penalty box, Nate.
Yeah, do we have one of those?
He's going to have to be severely punished.
I have to sudo install the penalty box. I haven't done that yet. Or add or
That's
remove
okay. I'm
software.
on a Mac, Vince. We're all good.
So does the penalty box have the flat pack yet?
Yeah.
Actually, I think that'd probably be the way to get it. You have to flat pack install it because it's got the sandboxing feature.
Let's see what you did there.
Mm.
So we should definitely stay away from the app image, is what you're saying.
I think that would not be as good of a penalty box based on how people complain about the security of the app image. So the Linux Saloon, shame on you corner. Yeah. I guess that's if I cared about that, maybe. Nope, don't care at all. People can come in. I think Swift isn't, I guess he's been running Mac too. So half of the Linux Saloon here is probably not even running Linux. That's fine.
I have Linux running.
Oh, well, never mind then. I take it
I
back.
I can only have one.
I think. Well, I mean, like, while running it on the show, I just assumed you're using your Mac to be on the Saloon.
Yeah.
It is all good. Has Penalty Box been packaged for OpenSUSE? It's probably in one of the community repositories, if it exists. I can OPI Penalty Box. Prophetic says, using Linux now. Yep. I'm using Linux now. Bluefin OS. Is that a immutable kind? And then we got another on Linux Mint. Steve's Rayon is on Windows at the moment, or
Bluefin's
on
pretty
Windows
awesome.
Automated Teller Machine. I'm not sure which. Doesn't matter. Is anybody here running Windows CE? No?
Windows XP embedded over here.
That's pretty sweet.
I had to support a bunch of I had to do retail IT support for a while and had to support cash registers running XP embedded.
Uh-huh.
Would not recommend.
No?
Oh man. Loads of problems. Things would just lock up for no reason.
I'm not surprised.
Long time no see.
It's Colin. He must have moved. The background's changed. The lighting has changed. He looks the same. Is that a new coat? You are muted. No, you're not muted.
Muted, Colin. And
He's
Zoom.
forgotten. He's forgotten how to use it. Well, Colin, are you also running Windows or Mac?
What's that?
I
What
don't
are
know.
those?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I think you basically evened it back out.
Nah, not running any of those, and I've actually changed more family members to Linux, so that's working treat.
So I can see Adam saying he likes to push people to Windows so that your efforts to push people to Linux are canceled out.
If you only knew the number of times I've sent apple.com/iPad to people.
I mean,
I've forgotten how to.
they're decent.
Um,
I'm being facetious. It's always /Mac.
I just don't.
I thought they were the same thing now.
Yeah, I think isn't the code base getting merged, or are they merging some aspects of the code base?
They've had a lot of the code base the same, but just a lot of the surfaces not the same. They use a lot of the stuff underneath though.
I'm sure moving to the ARM based has probably simplified a lot of the QA. I'm sure.
Indeed, I'm sure it has.
I'm find the settings in Zoom.
Yeah, they changed everything since you've been on here last.
Yeah, I haven't used Zoom or Telegram or anything for a long time.
I noticed because I've left you messages and you haven't responded.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, just saying. I hope you're doing all right.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. I wouldn't.
It's no longer Zoom. Now it's Zoom Workplace.
Oh, is that right?
because that's what we're doing here. We're working. I'm sure somebody's working on Zoom.
Oh, yeah, I did notice that actually when it started up, Zoom Workplace. Oh, it actually says it there, yeah. I'm not working, by the way. We come here for fun, don't we? Not for work.
I only use Zoom for fun. That is a fact. Well, glad to have you back, Colin.
Thank
I
you.
was gonna say it is interesting how Zoom didn't believe themselves in working remotely. They wanted everybody to go back to work, and there's Zoom. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So
So
what
if
are
you
we
work
talking
at
about
Zoom,
anyway?
do you have to like show up for the meetings in person?
Yeah, they wanted everybody to come back. They don't like people working from home, even though there's Zoom. You think if anybody works from home, it's Zoom people, but no.
Well, how are you supposed to know if the application works okay if you don't use it on a regular basis, right?
That's a good point. So Zoom forced everyone to come back into the office because reasons, productivity. I think the hybrid environment's pretty nice because I get a mixture of working from home and then working in the office, and then so if I want to get something done, I do it on my home days because you get distracted in the office, you know. But
I think it makes sense if you want to make people go back to work like one day a week for these meetings, and then they can be more productive at home the rest of the week.
The only way that I see working in the office as being useful is if everyone is in the office. But if you work in a role where you're working across multiple geographic areas and you're on Zoom, Teams, whatever anyway, what's the point of being in the office when you're just going to sit in the office on the Teams meeting? Like your whole group, if your whole group is not there, then the idea of collaboration in person completely falls apart.
you know, it's funny you should say that. So we have I work as IT manager for two different plants, and so I have to be in the Zoom meetings for some, and then if the meetings are happening locally, I go into those meetings, and we still do have some people who are remote. You know, we have like it's like a conference room or whatever. So I don't know how I feel about it. Like sometimes I think it's just nice, like the face to face, having periodic face to face is kind of nice. So like we had this past week, we had some of our vendors we work with regularly. I got to see faces for the first time, and so it was nice to actually have that kind of chatting. And then we also, my company always, anytime we have like vendors come in, my company always caters in food, and so that's pretty cool. So that'll bring me in the office too, because I think the president of the company, he brought in like this giant board of cheese, like all these different cheeses, and I mean that's worth something right there, right? Huh?
Yeah.
You can't enjoy the cheese on a Zoom call or Teams meeting or whatever.
That's true.
So
You said board.
if
I
there's-
thought you were going to say like a business board, like a board of rep.
No, like a wooden, like almost like a cutting board. It kind of looked like almost like a charcuterie tray thing. But yeah, he pulled all this stuff out on what day was that? Sometime this week, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday.
Impressive.
I think ultimately they should just give the employees the choice, not mandate a certain amount of hours or mandate a certain days or whatever. If there are people who want to work in the office, they should be able to, and if they don't, they shouldn't have to.
Something else would be if you can prove that you're productive, right? I mean, if you can go home and you're given even just sort of a probationary period or, trial period where it's like, all right. And, at first, maybe your productivity is not going to be perfect because it's an adjustment, as of course it would be. But let's say within, I don't know, 2 weeks, if your productivity was not at least as equal to what it was in the office, then okay, fine. Then, then that's obviously not going to work. And I think a lot of people think they want to work at home and they actually get home and they realize there's too many distractions.
It ain't as easy as it looks. Yeah. I work remotely, and yeah, there's definitely challenges to it.
Well, my entire tenure of working at home, which was literally from the mid 2000s until, almost 10 years ago now, but like I worked from home, and the problem that I had was that I was just always at work. You know, it was too easy for me to look at my email again or to sit down and work on that project that I couldn't get done earlier because I was on a phone call, and I just found myself having a hard time. That line was blurred. And I heard that complaint from other coworkers, but I also heard a lot of like, oh, I need to be that physical separation. I need to get in a car and go somewhere else to feel like I'm at work, or or that I'm leaving work and I'm at home, or you know. So, but I know for a fact that the amount of time I wasted, in a car, in traffic, getting dressed, like just all of the stuff you do to
Mhm.
prepare for work, I was just way more productive. So,
I think for me, what
and
is I work out my work weeks so that there's some things I have to do in the office and some things I can do from home. And so I just do the things I need to do in the office when I'm in the office. When I'm home, I do the things that I don't need to be in the office for. So
right.
I just manage my workload that way. And some things like, the drive kind of sucks, but I enjoy actually being there and getting hands-on stuff. And then, so I'm on the IT side of things, but on the operational technology side of things, it's fun to, for lack of a better term, kind of meddle over there and kind of help out in areas that aren't necessarily my domain, but like helping out other domains. And also, I like to one day a week I'll get there real early so I can be there for part of the night shift. It's not the last few weeks I've not been able to, but like so I can be there for, because like the night shift, they're 12-hour shift, whatever. A lot of times the office people aren't there at all, and so I like to be there so they can see me and know who I am, and feel more comfortable. Like if something does break in the middle of the night, I don't care if they call me at 1:30 in the morning, because if they don't, it's a bigger problem when I wake up. So, but
Zeb says he got far more work done at home due to less interruptions. I could agree with that.
yeah, I think
There's too many
you're right.
distractions in the workplace.
Yeah, I think you're right. I also bring my work home with me sometimes and do stuff on the weekends to like test an idea out, because I can just do it easier on my home network in my home lab. I can test something, will this work out here easier than I'll push it up there. I don't know if I should be doing that, but I do.
Yeah, but that's not work for you, Nate. That's curiosity.
It is. So there's a lot of overlap between what I like doing and what I do for work.
Yes.
So there's
absolutely.
that.
It's not work if you like doing it, right? Or if you're curious about something. It really isn't work, is it? But
So,
if it adds to the bonus of finding out something that makes work easier, then fair enough, isn't it? It's a win-win, isn't it?
So essentially, I'm only working when I'm doing the budgets and the accounting and all the spreadsheets. That's the only time I actually do the working, when I have to audit stuff. Maybe I can ask Adam how to automate that.
You should.
I don't know how to automate it yet.
Macros.
Is Adam still using GNOME? Adam, you still using GNOME?
I want a Mac.
You want a Mac? Oh. I just installed a new GNOME on Arch, and it's got a massive memory leak. It
Yeah,
just
I did
crashes,
try GNOME 47, but yeah,
it's
I
not
heard
the
about
best
that,
at the
that
moment.
memory leak.
Yeah. Just stay away from what I've gathered. Just stay away from the background part of the settings, and you should be fine. Although a lot of people are saying it's they're saying it's something else, but they were saying it's a system monitor, but my system monitor doesn't affect mine. Just when I do the background. If I stay away from background in GNOME settings, it's fine. It doesn't do anything. So I don't know. I think it's the background photos and stuff maybe doing something. It's bizarre.
That would be annoying.
Did you report a bug?
Maybe it's an AI that has like crept into the system and is taking over.
Mining coin.
AI. Let's blame AI. No, I didn't report a bug. I've got enough work to do around the house without reporting bugs. And every time I report bugs, they send me something back about 6 months later, and I'm thinking, what the heck is that all about?
Yeah, I can see that.
Mm.
Yeah, I think the
I've read some forums. I think they're onto it, so that's all right. I think they know about it.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah, don't bother filing any bugs. Somebody will file a bug, right? That's what Eric always says.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. No, I've filed many bugs before, but not on this occasion.
If the bug is that annoying, somebody else will file it, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it'll sort itself out.
So sometimes I'll there's been a few times lately when there's like a silly little bug, and I just kind of forget about it for a day. It didn't affect me or whatever. And when I go to file it, there's already been like a huge chain of things, and then I feel guilty that I didn't do it sooner. But actually, I have a bug now that I didn't file. I'm not really sure exactly with whom to file it, but I use DisplayLink for my extra monitors, and the kernel 6.11.0 it broke. Like DisplayLink doesn't work, but it's not an official package. But I think I should probably still file a bug. Yeah, actually, I should check and see if it was been fixed. Even it might have been just the package, like the community package probably just hasn't caught up yet. It's probably what's going on. So I should check.
Well, I'm creating ISOs using Eric Dubois' Xfce. He's Arch Linux Calamari's installer.
Okay.
So I was using Esnix as one, but he's not doing GNOME, so I switched over to Eric Dubois' one, which is pretty cool because you can add all these. I think you can with Esnix as well. I never got into it, but I got into it with Eric's one, where you can add your own repos and stuff. And I like to use Mintstick and things like that, so you can actually add your own repos, and it's already there after install, which is pretty cool. So I've been learning how to do all that. It's pretty cool. In between times that I've had to do it, which is just recent anyway.
So it's a name I haven't heard in a while. Is it Eric who? Dubois?
Eric Dubois. Yeah.
Eric Dubois.
He does all the Arco Linux stuff.
Okay.
Vince will know him. Vince uses his. I think Vince uses Arco Linux.
Yeah, still do.
Still do.
It's really difficult to keep track of everything they're doing, though. There's so much.
Oh yeah, I think you gotta choose one thing that he does and stick to that. Otherwise, you can go on this tangent of how many other things that he's doing. You've just got to stick to one of the projects and stay with it. He's got so much stuff that he does. It's just I don't know how he keeps up with it, to be honest.
Well, I think when it's your passion and you enjoy doing it, it's probably fairly easy.
Yeah.
I just worry when people start getting too much that they might burn out.
Yeah, I was doing. Sorry.
Sorry, go on. You go on.
Oh, no, I was going to say I was doing the Xfce stuff when I was at the rental talking with you guys, which is more than 6 months ago now, I think. So I was getting pretty heavy into it at that point, but since then I've done nothing. I've just done something yesterday, had a chance to go back to it, had to refresh my mind on what was going on, and there was, repos were out and everything. I had to sort of work out how to get all that done again. So that was quite interesting. So I had a bit of a chance yesterday to do some things. I still got heaps to do around the house, so I just thought I come back from Melbourne on Friday night, so I went over there for a week to visit family, just to chill out a bit. And I'm going to Bali in a few weeks, so that one I'll definitely chill out for a bit because I need to just get away from it all. This moving house is too much.
So, are you in your forever house then?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I am, and I've got a natural light coming through the window here, which is. I don't have to use a bedroom light, which is good.
That's nice.
And I've got a server box up in the laundry, and that's running internet through the house and also the TV aerials and stuff.
Oh,
so
nice.
that's pretty cool. Yeah. So I'm not on wireless. I'm on wired.
Oh,
So when you're building an ISO, it happens pretty quick, downloading the stuff, and it's quite good. I enjoy it.
that
It's
is
good
nice.
to not be on wireless for a change. Yeah.
That is very nice. Super
Yeah.
cool. So how many, if I may ask, how big is your house? Like how many bedrooms? Because you say you're
it's,
downsized, right? To
I downsized, but it's still 4 bedrooms.
okay.
So we downsize in the fact that the land is smaller, the outside area is smaller, so we don't have to have too much stuff to take care of. We just, as we get older, don't have to take care of it. That's why I've got to finish it all off. Got a lot of paving to do and, whatever. And then it's still 4-bedroom homes, got a theatre room and a large living area. So, and, in the kitchen and living, and an al fresco out the back with a decking we just had done.
Ooh,
So that
sounds fancy.
And I've got to build an area around there so all the rain and stuff can't get in. So I've got to do that. I've got to figure out how to do that. It's not my thing, but I have done it before. I'm just adding on to it. I'm not building and I'm just sort of adding on. So I'm going to use steel. So I've got to figure out how to do all that. But it is what it is. But it's still a reasonable size home because we don't like to go too small in the home. Otherwise, in future, when you want to sell it, you still want it to be a reasonable size. So, But the best thing we did was the showers have no glass, just walk in. So that's nice. No glass to clean.
Yeah. The glass is a pain to clean. I have one bathroom that has glass, and it seems like no matter what I do, I can't get the whatever is hardened.
Oh, it's a nonsense.
Yeah.
It's if you leave it too long. But what we've done is it's a big thing going on in Perth at the moment with water filtration. So we've added filtration right through the whole home. So that should stop the taps from breaking down because that was breaking down in my other home quite a lot. It's just too much calcium buildup in the water and it just destroys everything. I've seen, where you tap seats, I've seen grooves worn in those seats from the calcium.
Oh yeah.
Water buildup. Yeah, it's just because I've got a little tool that actually machines it out flat again. I've seen that many times. Yeah.
That's wild. I didn't know they made machines like that.
Yeah.
Is that something you add to a drill or something?
Yeah, you screw it. You add it to the drill. You screw it into where the tap fits in. It keeps it nice and flush, and then you just push it in, and you got to unscrew it and check it because you don't want to take too much off the surface, right? Yeah, they're pretty handy. Yeah.
Had no idea. That's pretty neat. I don't have there's not a lot of like deposity stuff in my water, but there's enough. So
I think it's a Perth thing because I think there's a lot of calcium in the water and a lot of crap and stuff. So that's why we thought we'd get it filtered. It looks after the tiles and the grout and doesn't wear that out too much. So that's pretty handy.
Yeah. I tried this stuff called this OxyClean stuff. Have you tried that instead of bleach? I don't know, I'm talking about home cleaning. It's been great for keeping the sinks nice. I'll tell you that. That's
right.
nice.
Okay.
And the tubs and the grout and everything else. It
The power of oxygen.
Yeah, and it doesn't have the smell of bleach, so you don't feel like you're dying as you're cleaning. And it really works. It really does. I should have done before and after.
Well, that's what our water is. That's what our water is. Our water smells like bleach, right? Our drinking water smells like bleach. They put a lot of crap in the water, right? I suppose to stop it from getting nasties in there, but you can definitely smell it. That's why we use water, manual filtrations and stuff. But now we've got the house filtered. You can't smell it anymore. It's brilliant.
Well, the nice thing is if you have a hot tub or a pool, you just use the tap water, and then you don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Colin, glad to have you back. It's nice to have all these faces or avatars
Good to be
anyway on
back.
here.
So did I hear people are using, half the people in here are using Windows? Did I hear that?
I was making an exaggeration. There's a few.
Okay,
I think it goes in phases. Sometimes the way the workloads change or whatever. Computer changes or like you get tired of something in Linux. Maybe a stumbling block or just something you want to do?
I'm not fussed, to be honest. I just heard that. I thought maybe people were making a change, or maybe they need it for something. But yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of good news coming out from Windows 11, or am I just watching the wrong videos? Maybe it doesn't seem to be a lot of happiness for Windows 11. Maybe it's just another one of those dead operating systems in between the good ones. I don't know.
You should be watching the Microsoft sponsored ones.
Right.
Oh, is that what I'm doing wrong?
Yeah, you got to watch Microsoft sponsored ones. So I think on that, I haven't been like reading or keeping the news articles to read here, but so the recall bit upset a lot of people, and I think the Copilot integration is upsetting some people.
Right.
I don't know if it's like a Luddite type of a reaction, or if it's true, people truly being unhappy with it. I don't know exactly what it is. I mean, me personally, I'm a bit of a Luddite, I admit. A bit. Just tiny bit. Remember Linux Luddites? That was a great podcast. Anyway, so there's I think I want to be able to turn certain functions on and off. Like I do have like a local AI bot that I interact with, but not all the time. It's just on when I want it, and it's off when I don't want it. And I think maybe the being on all the time, I think is maybe that's the concern. The recall thing, like how much is Windows actually, like what kind of data are they pulling from you? I think some of it's the advertising you cannot shut off inside your operating system. That I think probably also annoys people.
Well, I have to agree with that, because I was on, like, I contact family and stuff on Messenger, right? So I accidentally hit, what was it, on Messenger last night, Meta AI, and it come up in my feed, and I said, I don't want that there, delete it. So I deleted it, it popped straight back up, deleted it, popped straight back up. So now it doesn't want to go, right? So I don't need an assistant. I'm quite happy using it the way I do. It's smack bang in the middle at the bottom there, and I accidentally hit it, and it came up. All this stuff. Just they're just push it at you, to be honest. And I can understand people wouldn't be happy about it. Just let people use it if they want it, but don't put it in their face. You know what I mean? I think that's what it probably is all about.
Yeah, well, I mean they're pushing crypto for so long. I think this is just the next crypto. Honestly, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Like it has its place, but it's not for everything. But that's my opinion, and I'm not an expert, so I might be right. The Llama 3, I think the whatever the Meta AI I do run. That's the one I run locally, just whenever I want to. But it's isolated, so I can't just get to the internet unless I allow it. So
okay.
Zeb makes a good point here, and I'm going to bring this up. It says, you can turn a lot of that advertising stuff off. It never ceases to amaze me that Linux users will scour forums for hours to fix a problem, but they just go, bah, Windows is crap, LOL. And you're right. I think but on that, I think the bigger deal is, for me, it's almost like it's, actually Windows 11 is all right as far as like the user interface. It's a lot. It's quite improved. They've really done a lot to like polish it up and make it more usable, and it feels a little bit gnomish, like gnome-like as far as like the Windows do. And I think it's actually a-okay. Okay, Joe Panico says it's not just the imaging recall. So it takes the processing power and uses your system for all sort. Also, to sort through your data, it wants to harvest. Yeah, I think that's part of it too. And I know you can turn a lot of that stuff off. Yeah, I don't know. But
isn't one of the problems with Windows is that you turn things off and then you get an update and they turn them back on?
Yeah, they do that a lot.
It's kind of like how iOS, you can turn off your Bluetooth and then you get an update and then Bluetooth is back on.
Yeah. No way they would do. I don't think they would do that. There's no way.
For iOS?
They wouldn't. They would. Nah, Windows. They would never do that. It's true though. They do. They flick it back on. Phones do the same thing. you turn something off and then they do an update. I suppose in their defense, it's probably part of their, what can you say, the standard setting, probably, or the default setting, maybe. But I suppose that's what it is.
So I think there was an episode of Linux Unplugged where we're talking about it was the Linux escape hatch. Like if Linux for whatever reason like got bought out by, I don't know, something, and then became closed source. It's an impossibility, I guess. But let's say you couldn't use Linux anymore for whatever reason, and they gave the reason as to why not Mac and Windows, which I thought were pretty interesting. So I think if you're happy with Mac and Windows, go forth and do great things. That's fine. But one of the areas that I thought was interesting is in some ways Windows, like the proprietary operating systems, are kind of user hostile. So if you want to do something your way or you want to do it just a different way, you do have to fight the system quite a bit, especially with Apple, and so like it's part of the reason why I don't like it, because I feel constrained and it's not fun. I don't enjoy it. It's not like I do run Windows every day. I do. But I'm just not happy using it. And the tooling is just not as good for a lot of things. Doing certain tasks is just not as good. Doing some tasks it's better. But for most of the tasks that I do, it's just not as good. So
I would have thought Mac's more locked down than Windows, is it? Maybe, I think. Because Windows is probably a little bit more flexible than Mac, I would have thought.
Well, the requirement, the obligatory requirement for it, you have to have for installs. There's a way to get around it, but they're making it more difficult. But to be able to install Windows without or use Windows without a Microsoft account, good, bad, or otherwise, they do make it a hard requirement. There's a way around it, but you do have to it's when you build an ISO, an installation ISO, you can with like Rufus, you can fix that, but it is just kind of annoying.
With the standard user you're talking about?
Yeah. They do really force you. And then if you plan on joining a Windows machine to a domain, you do have to have Windows Pro for that. You can't use Windows Home. So there's that.
You can there was a situation where you can turn the internet off, I think it was, and there's another couple of commands that you can do that restarts it and then gets you past it. But I think they may have worked that out and maybe changed it. I'm not sure, but I was installing Windows 11, no problem at all with standard user. But whether they've changed that since, I don't know, because I think there's a new Windows 11 come out, was there? I think there was a new one, wasn't there? Because I don't know what version I've got on here. Let me have a look. I've got Windows on here somewhere, an ISO.
I think it's...
Because I
think what I'm using right now is it's a 11...
22H2 mine is.
Okay.
I think it's H4 now, is it?
I think I have 20. I thought I have 23H something. I have to check. 23H4.
Yeah, okay.
I have to look.
Oh, what was mine? 22, I think. Oh, mine's 22, yeah. So it's 23 now, is it? So
well, 24 just came out. So
right. Oh, 24H2, Zeb said. Okay, yeah. All right. So, yeah, I may have to download that and see what's changed.
Well, they have, instead of they have Copilot on the corner instead of whatever the other one was, Cortana. I think Cortana's gone.
Oh, yeah, Cortana. Didn't mind Cortana's lovely voice.
I think 23H2 is what I'm running right now.
Okay.
Yep. But anyway, it is a news flight night, so I just want to get to a couple of news stories here before we got the end of the day. So I think that's the way these things go, I guess. It's about anyway. It's always an open mic night, I guess. But some exciting news if you're into the Xfce world. 4.20 is aiming for release in December. Anybody here running Xfce? I think Jinda, you're an Xfce guy. So I think you get like a new release once every, I think 18 years, I believe is the cadence.
Yeah, it's about every 18, maybe
Yeah.
19 now.
So the roadmap / schedule has been published for the lightweight Xfce 4.20 desktop. If all goes well, this next iteration on the Xfce desktop will be out before Christmas. So you can wrap it and put it under the tree, I suppose. The Xfce 4.20 schedule published yesterday puts the final release planned to occur on 15 December, 2 years to the day after 4.18 release. It makes the 4.20 release date the feature and string freeze with 4.20.pre1 release is aiming at the 1st of November. A second pre-release for the 1st of December and then hopefully released on the 15th of December. But there is a possibility of a third pre-release being warranted, in which case the Xfce 4.20 release date would slip to the 29th of December, so just in time for New Year's. So you can find the schedule on the xfce.org wiki. So to offer up more Wayland support improvements, bug fixes, translation updates, and other modernization improvements, the developers have been hoping that the 4.20 feature usable Wayland support. I've been hoping it will feature the usable Wayland support while also retaining the X11 compatibility. So that's pretty exciting. I do like that they're a little bit slower moving. Does that bring you any comfort there, Jinda, to know that they're not going to be changing any of the underpinnings?
Well, I know that is the theory of our Xfce, not to change anything, but unfortunately, I think they're going to have to change to Wayland. And I don't know when that's going to ever happen.
Well,
It says it will feature usable Wayland support.
Yeah, I'm still holding my breath on that one.
I really, really want Xfce to call their Wayland compositor Wayface.
I mean, I think you're not wrong.
In fact, I think I might go and open a feature request now.
I think Wayface would be funny.
So the feature request would be talk to the Wayface.
Talk to the
You
hand because
got
the
it.
Wayface is not listening. Oh, and Zoe Ronan says, and running Tumbleweed is a great way to get the newest Xfce early. It's true. Although I'm running Plasma. So, I don't know. I think there are any. So besides Wayland, are there any other features that that really stick out to people?
What, for Xfce we're talking
Yeah.
about? They don't really bring out features too much, do they, Xfce, I believe?
Yeah, I just keep seeing a lot
Unless
of the
they
Wayland
have-
stuff.
I know since we're on Newsnight, and I don't want to digress from Xfce, but I did see a news report that LXQT is also working on Wayland's implementation. So that's another one as well.
Yeah, I heard that too. So what is EXO?
So where are we looking at? Where's the news for the Xfce? Which news are you looking at? Do you know?
This is
Have we got
Phoronix.
Oh, Phoronix, is it?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
It's in the Zoom chat.
Oh, is it? It's all right, I'll find it.
Yep. Well, anyway, I thought it was exciting. Another news topic. So, and this is pretty exciting, I think, for especially for Linux gaming. So the Arch, or should I say, Valve is helping Arch Linux with build service infrastructure and secure signing Enclave. Has anybody read any of this?
Yes.
This,
I've seen that, yes.
This, I think, is huge news. And we did talk about this on Linux Out Loud when we recorded this week. But so I think this is great. So one of the things I really like about OpenSUSE is the fact that they got the build service, so it's like continuous integration and all that gobbledygook. You know, they insert all these tech buzzwords here, which is great. You know, they can do all the QA checks and make sure things work. You know, based on a set of testing and whatnot. Anyway, so now basically Valve is helping with infrastructure very similar to this to do more quality assurance checks and whatnot. So this is going to potentially change the way Arch operates, potentially. Maybe not all of it, but it could be like a more stable branch, maybe slightly more stable branch. And it's obviously going to help with, future versions of SteamOS and whatnot. So what's exciting is they're basically going to take what I think is largely a dumpster fire distribution and turn it into something wonderful. So this would be great for everybody. And that's my hot take on it.
Well, they use Arch Linux on that portable.
That's the basis.
Yeah.
The base for
Yes.
and they're gonna provide them with financial backing now for the infrastructure.
Okay. Nice.
Honestly, I think the downfall of Arch is the AUR. And let me back that up, is because the AUR is kind of like a free-for-all, and it's not an official part of the distribution, but everyone who uses Arch kind of like uses the AUR. So
it's not kind of a free fall. It is a free fall. Anybody can put anything in there.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
if
I think
if you install Arch and let it be Arch and not use an extra repository, it'll probably be fine. That's my theory anyway. I haven't tried it.
That's what the wiki says. The wiki says not to use the AUR, I think, in parts.
That could be. I mean, it's like Manjaro. The big thing about Manjaro is people using the AUR that breaks Manjaro, right? So,
but the problem with Manjaro is that Arch is ahead, right? Manjaro is always behind in updates, and people when they use the AUR, they're targeting the latest Arch, right? They're not going to target whatever Manjaro is using at the time.
That's true. But if just like with Arch, if you just stick to the Arch repositories, if you use Manjaro, if you stick to the Manjaro repositories, I think you have a much better experience overall.
Yeah, I think the problem is the flexibility, though, is not great in Arch. So, in fact, Zoran said, what's wrong with Arch? So I think Arch is fine if you want to go through all the extra work and reading about the packages before you install them. If you're fine with doing that, great. I don't have the time for that. And so I need to rely on some sort of automation to make sure those things are not going to break. And so I think for Arch to be a viable distribution, really, it needs that additional tooling to make it as such. So I think this is a good thing to make Arch better. And I think maybe improvements to Pacman, which, by the way, the syntax in Pacman still is terrible. And no one can justify that syntax for how to do updates and installs. It's just not. It's just
why you?
Yeah, it's like SYY or SUY or
SYYU.
Capital S, lowercase s.
Pacman.
Yeah.
Pacman hyphen capital SYU.
Right.
I don't know, eating little pellets and like running around with ghosts after the stream on a screen. I mean, that sounds pretty good.
I think
Yes.
To be honest, with this situation with the AUR, I think this is what now Ubuntu's been criticised about the snaps and all that. I don't use Ubuntu much now, but I think they're trying to get away from people just randomly downloading .deb files and installing, which is why they're probably trying to implement snaps, right? Flatpaks are trying to get away from the same thing, right? So the AUR is okay if you trust what you're installing. And I mean, there's a couple of things. There's a few things I use from the AUR, which I know are okay. But yeah, you can, if you're just randomly installing stuff that you don't know nothing about, then yes, you could be installing something infectious. But you know, but it's been the same for .deb files over the years, hasn't it? You can just do the same as what you do with Windows.exe files. You go randomly searching for a .deb file. Do you really look at whether that website you're downloading it from is trusted or not? Probably not. But you know.
Yeah, I mean, it makes for a lot of arguments as to why you should have DistroBox for additional software, like separating things out, using something like DistroBox or whatnot.
True.
Or Flatpaks or snaps.
I think it makes a big statement for why immutable distros are a thing.
Right.
right? So
True. Yes.
so like you
Because
can't
it can't
mess with
touch the
it.
system.
Well, I mean, there's touching the system and there's touching the core of your system, and those are two
Yeah.
different things.
Sorry.
So
Yeah, that's true.
So you can still get a bunch of stuff on a mutable distro that aren't like official packages, but still have the core solid, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's correct. But the advantage, I suppose, is you don't need to install from the AUR if you can get that package from, say, Fedora or Ubuntu or somewhere else, because you can just install the native package from them, right? Because you're running it through DistroBox. So you don't need an AUR, probably, if you can find it somewhere else.
Is
I think I'm
is
correct.
DistroBox native to the Arch? Is that in the main archives?
Yeah, it is. I know that it's
Okay.
actually now, I think DistroBox and Podman's installed by default on the Steam Deck now, as of version 3 something. I don't know. I don't remember the version number. So
it's a good
So-
question as to how Valve is going to like influence Arch over time. I don't know the answer to that, and it's like a question for a future panel.
Yeah, I wouldn't know, to be honest.
So Anna Rita does bring up a good question that I think we should probably cover since I just said it. So is DistroBox like VirtualBox? And the answer is no. So DistroBox uses containers, Podman or Docker, whatever you choose. But I think Podman is typically default. And so that actually, now Adam, you're gonna have to probably help me out with this. So it uses the same kernel, but it segregates it off in some manner. Well, he said BRB, so maybe. Oh no, he said he's back.
He's back.
He's back.
It's
So
just container.
yeah, it's container, but to explain a container,
What
I
is a
guess,
container?
So the difference in this case, asking about the difference between VirtualBox and DistroBox, is VirtualBox is emulating a computer hardware, and DistroBox is just separating off a set of processes from the other processes. VirtualBox is trying to create a virtual computer. DistroBox is not.
right? And then I think uses the same kernel, but just has everything separated out, its own package sets or whatever. I don't know exactly how much of it pulls from system, the host resources versus its container resources. I'm not sure what the differences are there, but it's probably a variable slide. I don't know. I haven't dug into the weeds on that one. But anyway,
Sorry, is the question like RAM usage or something? Like,
no, just what the difference was.
oh yeah, like it's just the DistroBox is a containerized area of your existing distro that is running a distro inside of it. And VirtualBox is creating emulated PC hardware to fool the operating system and think it's running on a PC, whereas the container is not.
Right. And I think they're a more efficient usage of computer resources as well. I think.
So I was messing around with BlendOS a little while ago, and that, so it installs stuff from, so if you're running BlendOS is on Arch Linux. So if you install the Ubuntu container, you can install any package you like from Ubuntu, and then it shows up on the system. Because the system's immutable, it shows up on the system in the menu as an Ubuntu package, separate from everything else. So I'd have to think it's using the Ubuntu kernel, right? Whatever Ubuntu version you're installing from, it's using that kernel, right? That's how I think it works.
Well, I think.
Right. So you're getting hung up on like whether or not those parts of the system matter. The thing about the container is that it's not an entire system. Containers were originally meant for applications running within a containerized environment. So there's like user land, there's some like core utils and stuff, but the actual operating system parts are not part of the container. So a thing like a kernel and all the the underlying hardware bits and all that are not part of the DistroBox container at all. They're only
Right.
passed through the container, in this case Podman or Docker, basically tunnels through those bits on your machine. So the actual container itself, you don't really think of as an entire operating system. Think of it as more of like an environment. Kind of like how when you run a wine bottle, like you have like a wine installation doing something specific separate from another wine installation. It's the
Right.
same idea where
Right.
it's not Windows. You don't have the NT kernel and all that like running there. You can think of it in that sort of way, even if it's not explicitly that way.
Yeah, that's fair.
I like to use DistroBox to separate like certain applications out. So like, I want to run the Kali Linux, some of the Kali Linux tools, and although they do exist in OpenSUSE, they're just not configured the same. So I just install a DistroBox of Kali Linux, and I just use those tools because it has them, I don't actually know if it's the same really, like if it would function the same as in Kali Linux, but I just happen to like how they work better. So yeah, Prophetic puts it nice. DistroBox is like subsystem Linux for Linux. Like Linux subsystem for Linux, yeah. That's funny. Anyway, yeah, good times. So I'll do one more quick article here, since it was touched on briefly in the chat. So it looks like System 76 has released Cosmic Alpha 2. So is anybody here? We did Cosmic recently. Is anybody still running Cosmic at all? No? Yes? Maybe? You muted, Colin. You didn't have to say it to me.
I created an ISO yesterday with the Cosmic desktop on it. So there was a problem with rendering, and what did I do? I had to put Vulkan Intel in it
Okay.
because all the buttons and stuff weren't showing up. So once I did that, they were showing up no problem. But there's still a lot of things missing. Like if you want to look at properties of a file and all that, it doesn't have all that stuff. So, but it's not bad. I think it just needs to mature. But I think it should be really good when it's done, when it's fully complete.
Yeah, so when I played with it, I really enjoyed it. You could definitely tell it needed a little more work done to it, but I think that it's on the right track. It's definitely like a modern system built for modern machines, so we won't see a 32-bit version or probably anything for older devices at all, which I think is totally fine. So, but I think it's pretty exciting. So anyway, I thought maybe I can just read just a bit of the article here. So from Phoronix. So it's following up on the release of the Cosmic Alpha Desktop in early August. System 76 is closing out in September by issuing the second alpha release of their Rust-based open source desktop environment. Cosmic Alpha 2 is now available for their in-house Pop! OS Linux distribution, as well as having packages available for other Linux distros like Fedora, Nix, Arch, OpenSUSE, SerpentOS, and CatchyOS. I don't even know what CatchyOS is. Maybe we should try that one out. CatchyOS.
Yeah.
CatchyOS.
Yeah, I was using that. Just check out Broken Eaves, mate. You'll know what CatchyOS is all about.
It's the Rust-based Redux OS also has the Cosmic Apps package. The Cosmic Alpha 2 release brings new options to Cosmic settings. There are power and battery life management, new sound input-output devices settings, new weird. I'm sorry, weird. Why? Reading is fundamental. New wired and wireless network options, new window management features, and a variety of bug fixes. The Cosmic Files Manager has also seen a number of refinements, as has the Cosmic Store, which I think they should go back to PopShop. Load times on initial starts and applet enhancements and other revisions. So you can download information and more at the Cosmic Alpha 2 release on the System 76 blog. So there we go. Cosmic Alpha 2. This should be, I think this is pretty exciting. I think the working on a desktop environment can't hurt. I kind of feel like in some ways, System 76 has picked up the reins of what Ubuntu was early with Unity. They're kind of taking the mantle of trying new things and going forth with that. So I think it's good. It'll be good for all desktops, especially Mac.
Well, I get the feel like when you hit the super button, it comes up with like a little, just like it does in KDE on the desktop. You start typing, you press the super, and then it's got this search dialog that comes up, which is pretty cool. So sort of and then like you said, there's a little bit of Unity and I think a lot of GNOME, but changed in a way that makes a lot more logical sense. So it's interesting. I think it might be all right. So it'll have a lot more, what can you say, settings and little tweaks that you can do out of the box rather than add extensions, which I think is one of the best things I think Cosmic will do for the desktop, I believe.
Yeah. So I think, although it is time, but I think Mike Chilson, he popped in here and asked a very interesting question, which I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. Has anybody heard of the cups vulnerability?
No.
So I'm just going to this from the Ubuntu security.
Yes.
Yes. So Cups is a standard-based open source printing system, and Cups Filters provides backends, filters, and other software for Cups 2.x to use on non-Mac OS systems. Any value passed to Footmatic RIP command line via PPD file will be executed as a user-controlled command when combined with other logic bugs as described in CVE 2024-47-176 can lead to remote command execution. So
it actually rates like a 9.9 on the vulnerability scale.
Really?
It's up there. Yes.
Now, is this one of those things that you were talking about, Adam, like in the post show, one of your frustrations in open source?
In regards to what? I'm sorry. I was
the cups vulnerability.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So
The cups.
The cups vulnerability.
Oh yeah. There was the cups. The thing I was ranting about is how poorly handled it was. In that the person who reported it was basically gaslit and argued with for 22 days before anything was actually done about it. Yeah, open source works, right?
Well, I mean, sometimes you're just going to have people that are just, no doggone good, as my dad would say.
Sometimes.
Well, I have to put on my optimistic rose-colored glasses always, otherwise I can get kind of in the dumps. But so you said, Sean, it was 9.9. What is the what is the reason for such a high
remote code execution? And but like it says here, the article that I posted from OMG Ubuntu says the following. Here's the breakdown. This is how the Red Hat breaks down the chain step by step. 1, unique cups browse D service and manually enabled or started. 2, the attacker has to have vulnerable server, which allows unrestricted access such as public internet, or 2, gains access to internal network where local connections are trusted. 3, attacker advertises a malicious IPP server, thereby provisioning a malicious printer. 4, a potential victim attempts to print from malicious device. 5, the attacker executes the arbitrary code on victim's machine. So, and then it says here, so far so scary, but there is some good news. 1, if you use a firewall or a NAT router that blocks the port affected, you were likely never vulnerable to this to begin with, right? 2, Canonical's security team has issued critical security updates for the affected packages. These updates are rolling out to all supported Ubuntu releases today. And this is an article from Sunday. It doesn't say. It says it was last updated Sunday, so I imagine like a week at least.
Right.
And so basically, if you have like a router you're pretty much safe unless you went in there and opened up a port, because everything should be blocked if your router is set up properly by default. And
Got
if you
it.
want to check that, you can use GRC's Shields Up. Let me give you the link for that. And there you can scan your router to see if any ports open. And if you don't have any ports open, it will give you the I forget what they call it. True Stealth, I think, is the link. Otherwise, it tells you what ports you have open, so you know.
All right, well, I'm checking out this Shields Up thing now.
It's pretty uneventful.
I've
It
got-
just shows you everything green if you're set up properly. Otherwise, it'll
I've
show
got
you
a
what's open.
question. I mean, if one compromised device happened to like be on your network, then the issue, the worry there would be that many other ones can then be compromised. So I'm talking about how people might get around the firewall by actually moving devices
If they're
between
inside your network, it's a
networks,
whole
right?
different thing. So if you just have a business where you have a lot of different users, then you have
But
much more exposure versus you're
this is the
just by
problem.
yourself and somebody has to come into your house and try to do the
Right.
vulnerability on your house.
That's the reason why it was such an important vulnerability to get patched, because many businesses with large infrastructures could be affected.
And this vulnerability also depends on your OS. If your distro has this not enabled by default, then you were never affected to begin with. The service.
So they did mention that the service was also vulnerable to rendezvous bonjour stuff. So the MDNS, the auto discovery stuff. So you don't even have to necessarily know that the printer is there for it to still be an RCE. Because it can run the remote code via a rendezvous request. So you know how when you have a printer and it automatically detects your printer, you didn't have to put it in? Yeah, that's a transport mechanism for the RCE.
So I can say that my equipment at here actively rejected the UPnP probes. Thank you, OpenSense.
So if you take your laptop to work now, you would have to also make sure that at work that port is blocked too, because you could end up still bringing it home and affecting your network.
Yeah.
So DevMiner notes that it's only an RCE if you print with that added printer. If you're in a huge environment with a lot of printers and they spoof the printer you expect to be there, then yeah, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. You didn't have to set up that printer. You didn't have to go out of your way. The rendezvous bonjour or any kind of print server told you it was there, and voila, RCE.
So
And if you think people don't get in the networks of big businesses without you realizing, happens far more often than you think. A simple social engineering, a simple phishing email, and they'll sit in there for months and months, and no one really notices because there's no suspicious activity. But they're there.
Yeah, taking your laptop to a public Wi-Fi, boom.
So when I take my computer out, I pretty much have everything blocked. Because I have a
So you have a software firewall, right, enabled.
yeah I do.
This would also be a good time, Nate, for your VPN commercial.
But
All right,
this
so-
is, I mean, I understand that a lot of us here understand what the problems are, right? But you've got to also know that a lot of people don't and wouldn't know what to do, and so it's a situation where unless it's patched by, from the very source cups and then fed through to the distros, I think a lot of people could still be affected.
Certainly possible. So
Well, I mean, the obvious thing is like disable cups if you don't need it, right? So
what I'm doing is most of the every Linux machine that we have running at work doesn't print, except they don't do any printing, and then we use a Windows print server that spools everything. So I'm not sure So if you're saying like, where would those vulnerabilities, like, where would they live? On a Linux machine in cups? Is that where they would live?
Well, I mean, the attack vector would be through cups on Linux. And I would assume it'd be similar on Mac OS. And
Apple actually maintains a separate version of cups for themselves.
okay. Still may be a vulnerability that they haven't patched. I don't know. I don't have any Apple machines to like check out that theory. If somebody else does, go for it. But if you don't need that service, go ahead and disable it, because that's an attack vector, no matter what.
So going back to the Arch story, Arch was right. If you don't need something, don't install it.
I thought that was like a Linux rule, though.
Well, unless you're like on the Steam Deck, in which case you're like installing everything.
Those are just games, though.
As far as you know, it
Yeah.
could be an AI.
Could be.
You never know.
If your frame rate drops when playing Minecraft, you know something's gone wrong, or your kid messed with your max FPS settings. One of the two.
Your video card is dying. one of the three. Right?
It would be good for anybody who's interested in securing their system just to not enable auto add printing service for cups, just for any potential follow-up vulnerabilities with this.
I think this particular vulnerability is in cups itself, and you know the recommended way is like, if you don't need to print, just go ahead and disable it.
Yeah, well, I used my printer the other day and scanning as well. So did have a couple of odd things come up asking for a password, and I cancelled it. But I don't know what that was for. I think it was Wi-Fi or something. It was weird.
Oh my God, you're
when I was. I don't know if that was when I was printing. I can't remember. That was a bit weird.
Are you on KDE?
No, I'm on Cinnamon, actually.
Oh.
Could have been just one of those things, but I can't remember if it was when I was printing, but something did pop up I thought was a bit weird. May have been just maybe because I'm using network and I'm not using internet, the wireless. May have been the wireless asking for the password. I'm not sure.
I'd have to see the error.
It could be. As I understand it, the vulnerability is like if you have, or the extreme vulnerability is like if you have it enabled on a public network. So if your network is private,
I'm all good.
You should be okay, but you know, as a precaution, you might want to like disable that until the patch is like rolled out.
Just disable cup service, I suppose.
I think the bigger point really is how the vulnerability reporting was handled. That's ultimately the bigger problem here. Like, the vulnerability was found, and that's good, and that it's been patched, and that's fine. Things happen like that. But the simple fact that the person did a responsible disclosure, and it took 22 days of gaslighting and arguing and just all of this back and forth for a lot of the people on the project were stating, you know, basically defending their code as perfect, or however they want to put it. And just the person was dragged through the mud trying to do the right thing. They could have easily just not reported it and exploited it. You know, they could have just put it out as a 0 day and like no one would have known and everyone would have just gone on exploiting these things. But they tried to be responsible and they were met with like just tons of pushback. That's actually the big problem.
I think that's a problem of pretty much any report of an issue that you make anywhere.
So that being said, I can actually talk to that. A second developer reported a significant bug in the Arc browser. It's a web browser that would allow people to remotely execute JavaScript code through these modifications you could do. And I'm not going to go into the details of how it all works, but it was a pretty big problem. And Arc responded by giving them money for a bug bounty and offering them a job, and they fixed it within a couple days. So there's no reason that people have to act that way. There's no reason people have to drag you through the mud for nearly a month trying to do the right thing. And yet
Well,
that's
that's
exactly
true.
what happened, right? And like,
That's
Agree with
true.
that.
But
yeah,
you know,
it's
if
pretty common, but it's like, I don't think excuses should be made. I don't think like it should be waved off. It should be absolutely accepted as a bad thing. No what ifs or what abouts, or just, yeah, those guys were bad.
I don't know, my experience with reporting like user interface bugs to people has been terrible. It's like, oh, you're using this edge case. It doesn't apply. Well, yes, it does apply to me.
Right. And so why are people not being named and shamed? Why are people not being called out for their terrible behavior? That's the unfortunate part.
I would imagine it's because they are lead developers or you know, lead people on a project, and you know, their rule is law, and you know, you can't go against that until you fork it, and then it's your problem, right?
Well, I mean, it's not the
That just
only.
sounds
That
to me
really
that-
makes for a healthy discourse, right?
Yeah, that just sounds to me like Linux people love authoritarianism.
Yeah.
To
Statists.
be fair, this has happened with closed source software in the past.
Right,
where-
but that
where
does,
people have
because it's
reported
happened in
things-
closed source doesn't mean it's excusable in open source.
No, I'm not
That's
saying
my
it's excusable,
point.
but I'm saying this is not unique to open source in any way.
Regardless of whether it's unique to anywhere, it shouldn't have happened.
No, it shouldn't.
No, you're right. I think it sounds like almost like a pride issue. What it boils down to, somebody thinks their poo doesn't stink, and then they refuse to accept it. You know, it's like the kid on the playground that always smells like urine. You know what I'm talking about when you were a kid? You know, it's kind of like that. If you tell them,
What playground did you go to, Lane?
well, you know, maybe I don't know. You know, the kid that just stinks. Maybe he's got a dog, and his dog uses him like a fire hydrant. I don't know. But anyway, the point is, yeah, you're gonna have that in every circle for sure. Doesn't excuse it at all, and I'm glad it's been addressed. I mean, 26 days too late, but at least it has been addressed, and hopefully that maybe it'll take care of that pride thing. Might be worked out a little bit.
Or the person who reported the bug will just not report it next time and send it off to the people who will appreciate it, the red team.
Well, that's the thing
I
too.
think
like,
that's a bit more likely, is that the person reporting it will be like, oh, I'm not doing that again.
that's exactly what they said in their blog post, because I've got it up here. They said that while this is not the first time I try to more or less to responsibly report a vulnerability, it is definitely the weirdest and most frustrating time, as some of you might have noticed from my socials, and is also the last time.
Yep.
That's not good.
You have a
I think
very
that's
competent
sad.
technical person who could improve things, and the terrible tantrum behavior, and they're just like, "No, we're out. I'm not doing this." And
That's why I don't file bugs.
That's bad, right?
Yeah,
There's
it's very
a
sad.
company that I forget the name because they always talk about it in security now. There's a company that does these bounties for all these 0 days, and they give a lot of money, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. And they're supposedly a security company, but they just don't disclose them. They just do whatever they want with them, I guess. Probably selling to somebody. I forget the name though. I can't think of the name right now.
So I guess the moral of the story is nobody's safe, ever.
If
Doesn't
you're
matter
not on the
anymore.
internet,
I think
you're
the
safe.
moral of the story should be treat people respectfully
Yeah, of course.
and listen to them before assuming things. And also, like, you know, do away with your ego and pride. It might do you some good. That's the moral of the story.
Be humble.
Oh, for sure.
Someone
Or
should tell
be
Steve
green.
that.
That's another option.
So be humble, or at least use OpenSUSE. So that's
I didn't say anything about OpenSUSE. I just said be green.
oh, okay. So Linux Mint then. Good deal. Okay, well, thank you so much for all that, and good discussion, especially around the around the vulnerability talk. I think people need to do better of being awesome to one another, I think. And I think for the most part, I think we did that pretty good here on Linux Saloon. I think we're all pretty awesome here for the most part. What do you think, Vince?
No, except me. I'm just adequate.
Yeah, I only have a beef with Steve. He's a problem. We need to,
Yeah.
we need to boot him.
Why we have not
I don't
banned
know.
him, I have
Eric
no
Eric
idea.
is a troublemaker. I could just tell by his smile.
Well, yeah.
He's got that like Bates Motel kind of smile going on. Like you know something's wrong. You're just not sure what.
The smile hides many secrets.
Yeah.
Life secrets.
Skeletons.
Exactly. Exactly.
Is that his mom in the window?
It could be just like another kernel version that has taken over with
A new
AI.
a new 6 series kernel.
No, 7.
Oh.
At least 7.
With baked in AI. All right, so next week is a application appetizer, and have there been any applications that like it always seems like everything is just so specialty anymore because it's the excitement of looking at a file browser is what it once was, and a notepad type application. Oh, do you know that WordPad is going away? That Microsoft is going to stop shipping that. Anybody hear that?
Yeah, I complained about that, I think, in Linux User Space Telegram.
Oh, okay.
Because, sometimes you just need something that's more than like a notepad, but
I just use
you might
Notepad.
not have Word available in the computer because it's not installed, because you need to provision that, and WordPad's always there in case you need it, but it's not
Right.
there anymore.
And then if you try to install LibreOffice, it block the
It's blocked by
It's
the
blocked.
IT people because
Right.
they shouldn't install just anything.
because they're jerks, every one of them. Anyway, so with that being said, are there any applications you guys are excited about, want to share? I mean, like right now I'm excited about CAD stuff, but like I'm not going to say, hey, you guys should try Fusion 360 on Linux, because that'd be stupid. Because if you're not doing CAD, that'd be a complete waste of your time.
Well, Fusion 360 on Linux doesn't really work.
It does. I'm using it.
Oh, okay. Well, it
And
doesn't
it-
work for me.
I'm using it. I just installed it yesterday. It's great. I'll share the GitHub with you on how to install it.
I'd love to see it. We could also like go into laser engraving software.
But I don't have a laser engraver.
Yes, but Lightburn has recently like dropped Linux support from their commercial offering. So we could like go into laser engravers, and maybe you'll need to talk to Wendy about that. I don't know. And like explore what's available on Linux for laser engravers.
So maybe dovetail into that, because we all have slightly different interests. I wonder if maybe, and what do you think about this? Maybe next week bring like, what is your like? I mean, unless you just do Linux and that's your entire hobby, which for some people it might be, but maybe what is like your current piece of software that you're I was gonna say chasing the dragon, but that's not it. Like hobby thing you're doing. So like if you're doing something in music, maybe what's some application that's music related that you use in Linux, or if there's maybe like for like laser engraving for Sean, or for me it's going to be something CAD related right now, because that's what I'm concentrating my efforts on. So maybe something like that. How can we make that, trim that down into something a little bit smaller? Do you have any idea, Eris? Jinda, maybe? It's an application appetizer potluck. Bring whatever you're working on. How's that?
Sweet.
I heard of this. I heard of this software. I have never tried it myself, but it sounds very interesting.
Okay.
It's called Notesnook or Notesnook. I don't know if it's open source. It's they have I think a Flat Hub, and there's also like a website you can go to, notesnook.com, and they say it's open source, end-to-end encrypted and private. But I don't know how good it is. Supposedly it's a rival to what is that? What is that note-taking software that's proprietary that a lot of people use?
Obsidian.
Obsidian, yeah.
Well, this is interesting. I really like the coloring because it's black and green and it's very Borg-like, so it's very nice. Well, this looks interesting. It's an alternative to Evernote. Huh.
I'm gonna bounce out. I gotta take a dump. You guys take it easy.
All right. Hey, thanks for letting me know.
See you, Adam.
Yep.
See you, mate.
All right, we'll see you.
That was
Time's ticking.
absolutely too much information right there.
Way too much.
Well, we can do
Okay.
that. You want to do Notes Nook?
They also have a Snap. I didn't know that. They have a Snap.
There's another one.
Flat Hub.
There's another one I've seen. I didn't want to say anything until I found it because I couldn't remember where I found it. There's one called Space Drive, which is a Rust-based open source file manager. So that was on, I think it's FOSS. Yeah, that was on its FOSS. It's called Space Drive. Don't know if I haven't tried it. So
A file manager from the future.
yeah. Don't know what's
We could
so
talk.
good
We could
about
talk
it.
about
Haven't-
fish, which is like the vast shell from
shell?
the 2000s,
It's 90s, isn't it?
90s. There you go.
What makes it from the future?
Well, it actually has, I think, all these. If you have a look at the screenshot, it shows you,
It looks like
little-
Mac OS.
yeah, little icons of how much space is left in certain places and all that, instead of going straight to a system monitor type thing. So I think it must do all that in one sort of thing. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. I just remember I've seen it. Just something to think about anyway. Maybe for next time.
Interesting. There's a download for Linux. Oh, it's downloading something I don't want. I don't want a Debian. Stop.
You only think you don't want Debian. You only think so.
I'm pretty sure I don't. All right. Well, I guess let's do Notes Nook this week, and then we can bring up file managers because that's what we do. All right. So Notes Nook it is, unless anybody has any complaints.
No complaints
Nope.
from me.
Okay. We'll go ahead and do that. Maybe we can even see if anybody from the notesnook.com wants to join us.
I'm sure somebody has a complaint somewhere, but it got lost in the inbox.
It probably did. Well,
Is
fantastic.
that a flat pack? Do you know?
It is a
that
flat pack.
or not?
There's in Flat
Yeah, okay,
Hub,
that's
it
all.
says Snap, it's
Okay,
app image.
That's all good. No worries.
Can you self-host the syncing? I'm looking for that now.
So here's an interesting question. If it's available as a flat pack, a snap, whatever, is that actually less work for the developer? I don't think so. It's more work.
It's in Homebrew too.
Or which one?
Well, for any application that is available in multiple formats, that is actually more work for the developer than just saying, hey, it's available on this package, deal with it.
More work, but less complaints.
A lot of that can be automated anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure. As to if it's more work and less complaints, it may be more work than more complaints.
So they have
Oh,
notes.
so this thing will be. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. It's like Evernote.
Oh, I was going to ask Aris, is it a little bit like Joplin? Does it work similar
I
way
have,
to Joplin?
sorry, but I have no idea. I heard this, because there's a channel that I'm subscribed to in YouTube. It's a
Right.
Techlore, and they were advertising this, and they said it's open source and you can sync.
Okay.
And, but I've never tried it though.
Unless it can actually sync to my phone as well, it is not a replacement for Joplin.
Yeah, that's right. That's what Joplin does for me, which does very well, I must say.
It says Notesnook. I don't even know how it's pronounced. Notesnook mobile apps will also now automatically sync your notes and other data in the background at regular intervals. This will ensure that you're always synced, even if you never open the app.
Let me see if it's on Android. Let me check. I'll see if it's on the Play Store.
I just found the sync server. You can self-host it. That's sweet.
Android and iOS.
Interesting.
You can get it
Notesnook.
from
There you go.
F-Droid too. You don't need to even use the Google Play Store. You can get it from
Play
the App
Store,
Store.
Notesnook. There you go. You can see that, but yep, it's on there. Okay, that's interesting.
Well, cool. All right, let's make it Notesnook and then talk about it next week.
I'll have a play with that.
It might-
Sounds all right if I get time.
It might be a good replacement for OneNote. I don't know. All right, so go ahead and go into last call. And if anyone had anything you want to talk about, Eric, I know I don't know if you're still available. If you have anything you want to talk about or not. If not, you can hop in anytime. So Steve's very own, he was in the chat trolling, but that's cool. So he streams now. I think mornings at 8:30 a.m. Central, and also throughout the week. So you can check him out. It's best when he does gaming, especially retro gaming, and loses. That's my favorite thing. So go ahead and check out Steve's very own. He's got a YouTube page and also Twitch and some other things. But he's like one of those kids. I think when he Twitch streams, he does it shirtless. So go ahead and check that out. If you haven't checked out Linux User Space,
Did we just get demonetized
probably.
from that?
We're not monetized anyway, so it doesn't matter. D-ranked. Got deboosted.
Shadow banned.
Shadow banned. Or small, was it this? There's another one like small room something. I don't know. I don't care. So if you haven't checked out Linux User Space, it's one of my favorite podcasts. It's where you can actually learn something, hear the and the dynamic between Dan and Leo. It's always top notch. Leo being more energetic, Dan being more serious. Would you say? He's more serious.
Dan is the straight man.
He's the straight man in
He's
this
the calm
in this
one.
comedy script. Yeah, he is. Go check out Linux User Space. They are back with season 5. I'm on a podcast called Linux Out Loud. Actually, we talked about Arch and Valve, and actually Valve's doing some other interesting things with Wayland now. They're getting involved there. Maybe Wayland's going to get some
Pushing their way through around.
And I'm actually okay with that, and I think it'll be good, because sometimes you need someone to kind of I like anarchy, not the violent stuff, because that's actually not anarchy. There's no violence in anarchy. But anyway, I like the where everyone does their own thing. But sometimes you need someone to kind of crack the whip and get everyone in line for a while and get some things worked out. So we'll see how that works out. I have a podcast. I have a website called cubiclenate.com. I published a few things here this week. You can check that out. One was I was having function key issues on my framework where they just weren't working. And also fighting flash fraud. It's actually I redid an article because it needed to be done. So you can check that out. Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network, so check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. I want to thank you all for your support, however you do it, being a part of the conversation, both the Zoom meeting and the YouTube stream, as well as for everyone watching the show after the fact. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Colin, are you doing videos again?
No, not yet. Haven't got time, really.
All right. Well, whatever you do, let us know.
I will eventually. Just got to sort the house out first and then get it finished. Then I can just get into it. YouTube's demonetized me for sure. I can't make money on YouTube because unless I got so many hours of video or whatever. So
Oh yeah, a year, right? You gotta prove yourself. in order
Yeah,
to
you got to
qualify?
prove yourself. Which I was making money there for not much, just enough to maybe give out some donations here and there. But now you can't. You got to reprove yourself and get so many hours. It's like it's become just international rating stuff, hasn't it? I don't think they want the small people on there anymore, to be
It's a
honest.
rat
But
race.
I don't care. It is, yeah. I don't really care if I make money or not, but I was there for the learning side of things and teach people whatever I know anyway. So that was the whole reason for it. The money was just a bit of a bonus.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. And I want to thank everyone involved in making Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back in our personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yas.